6.7 is about the distributive property. How many of you guys have heard the word distributive before? Or distribute? Can anyone tell me what you think distribute means? What do you think, Katie?
To give out.
To give out, okay? So I have an example right here. I have some candy, okay? If I am going to distribute candy to the class, should I give it to some people or to all people?
All people.
Why should I give it to all? Because you want to be fair, okay? So today we're talking about the distributive property. I am going to distribute some candy. Just like I am being fair to each of you and giving everyone a piece, when we do our lesson today, you have to understand you must distribute evenly to all numbers. So here in red, I've given you a statement. I want you guys to read to me what that statement says. The number outside the parentheses is multiplied by everything inside the parentheses. So looking at my example up here, what is outside of the parentheses? A. Whenever I have a letter or a number next to parentheses, what operation am I doing? I have to multiply, okay? So this simply means A times B. If I want something to say A times B, I can just stick them right there next to each other. A times B, okay? What operation is inside of my parentheses? Plus, okay? So I'm going to add. Now, if you notice, once again, it says the number outside the parentheses is multiplied by everything inside of the parentheses. What have I not multiplied the A by yet? C. So I want you to also draw an arrow from A to C, because whatever is outside the parentheses, you must multiply it by everything inside of the parentheses. So what do you think I should write for A times C? Just simply AC, okay? So all this means is whatever is on the outside, in this case the A was on the outside, you've got to multiply that A times B, and then you will multiply the A times C. The first example is just like the first few examples you're going to see on your homework tonight. It says to use the distributive property to write an equivalent expression and then check your answer. Let's talk about this word right here, equivalent. What does that mean? Equal, okay? Then if it says expression, does that mean I have to come up with an answer? It does not, okay? An expression is simply when you're adding or subtracting different numbers or letters. So all we're doing first off is coming up with an equivalent expression. So let's see first off, we've got to figure out what number is outside of the parentheses. Which number is outside of our parentheses, guys? 3. So remember, in order to be fair, I've got to multiply the 3 by everything inside the parentheses. Let's just work from left to right. What's the first number you see there?
3.
A 2. You're simply going to do 3 times 2. Now, looking inside of this right here, what operation do you see in there? Adding. So we're going to add, all right? Plus, what was the number on the outside? 3. And what number on the inside of the parentheses have I not used yet? 3. So we are now multiplying. If you notice, your instructions simply said use the distributive property to write an equivalent expression. What we just did right there was our equivalent expression, so I want you to go ahead and box that in. Equivalent expression just means something else that equals exactly what we were just talking about. Now, the one part we haven't done yet is where it says to check your answer. That means we're going to work out the left side and we're going to work out the right side. So let's start with the left side first. Do you guys remember what parentheses say to us? Do me first. Before doing anything else, you've got to do your parenthesis work. So what is 2 plus 3? 5. Also, you have to bring down your multiply by what number?
3.
Multiply by the number 3, okay? Let's go ahead and do some work over here on the right-hand side. Start from left to right. What is 3 times 2? 6. Plus, what is 3 times 3? 9. Okay, so now we're going to try to figure out our answer. Working on the left side. What's 3 times 5? 15, and bring down your equal sign. I would like for nice, neat work, so make sure all your equal signs are directly underneath each other. And on the right-hand side, what is 6 plus 9? 15. So looking at this final thing right here, guys, does 15 equal 15?
Yes.
So here's what I want you to do. Give yourself a mini check mark that is the size of our numbers, because that helps me to know and understand that this did work out. Problem B is the same instructions as problem A. I want you to write an equivalent expression. Okay, so remember, you got to take whatever is outside the parentheses and multiply it by everything inside the parentheses. So who can help me out with problem B? Katie.
So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put your equal sign, and then you have to do 4, and then the number that's closest to the 4 in parentheses. So
Okay.
you're going to do 4 and then 50.
Okay, 4 times 50, and now what sign goes next?
And then you do
Look at what's there at the original problem.
a minus.
A minus, okay? So just because the last one was a plus, be careful. Whatever the sign is there, you're going to put a minus. And now...
And then you have to do 4, and then the number that's closest to the end, which is 3.
Very good, okay? That is your equivalent expression, so I want you guys to go ahead and box that in because that's our answer. But now remember, our instructions also told us to check your answer. So let's work from left to right. Michael, help me out. What do parentheses tell us to do? Inside the parentheses. Anytime you see work inside of the parentheses, it's basically screaming at you saying, do me first. Okay, before you do anything else, you've got to do that work inside the parentheses. So Michael, what is 50 minus 3?
50 minus 3 is 47.
47, and bring down your multiply by 4. Okay, remember, you want nice, neat work, so bring down those equal signs. Next up, 4 times 50. Count by 50s 4 times. What do you get? 200. Bring down your minus. And what's 4 times 3? 12. Okay, so now let's go ahead and figure this out. You guys can pull out your calculators to see if they equal each other. Okay, 4 times 47 is 188. And what is 200 minus 12? 188. Does that equal each other? Yes. All right, good job. Give yourself a mini check mark showing that 188 does in fact equal 188. As I just walked around, a few of you had the correct answer, so let's just talk about it. First off, I want an equivalent expression. Let's first find the number that's on the outside of the parentheses. What was it? -4, okay? So we know we've got to multiply a -4 by everything on the inside of the parentheses. We have to distribute things evenly. What's the first number that's in our parentheses? 5. So we're going to multiply it times 5. What sign is on the inside of the parentheses over here? Plus. More than one person can tell me what it is, okay? What's on the inside? What sign is there? Plus. So we are adding this together. Plus. Now, here's where it becomes tricky. -4 times what was the last number in there? 8, okay? So the tricky part here is, do you see how this looks, plus minus? It looks kind of tricky. So what can I do to separate that out? Put parentheses around it so I know I am multiplying and not subtracting, okay? This right here is your equivalent expression because that's an equal expression to the first one. So now let's go ahead and work it out. Remember, parentheses say to do me first. Before you do anything else, you've got to do the parentheses. Kyla, what's 5 plus 8? Try again. 13, okay? We got to bring down times -4. Now let's go ahead and do this part here, working from left to right. Landon, what's -4 times 5?
20.
Okay, but if I only have one negative, should my answer be positive or negative? It is -20. Then bring down plus, who can help me out? What -4 times 8 is? Isabel. -32. Okay, so once again, here's where we have a plus and a minus sign. I don't like that right there next to each other, so what should I put? Put parentheses around the number so that I understand it's a negative number. Now, just because I put parentheses right here, does that mean I have to multiply it? No, my operation here is telling me I am adding -32. So let's go ahead and try to figure this out. -4 times 13, what's the answer? -52, because anytime that you're multiplying, if you only have one negative number, your answer will always be negative. And then -20 plus -32. Remember our song, same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract? So right here, do I have the same sign or a different sign? Same sign. Add the numbers, keep the sign. What do we have? -52. As I read this to myself, does -52 equal -52? Yes. Yes, so give yourself a mini check mark. All right, so what we're trying to do here is we are trying to write an equivalent expression. If you notice, this is different than what I've been giving you. This is the opposite. This is what we've normally come up as an answer. So now what I want you to do is figure out, what do both of these two numbers have in common?
7.
They both have a 7. So guess what's going to be the number on the outside of your parentheses?
7.
A 7, okay? So now who can tell me what I am multiplying that by?
9.
The first number is 9, and then what?
5.
95?
No, 9,
Oh.
then parentheses, then 5 on parentheses.
It's 9 plus 5.
9 plus 5. Okay, just check. Whatever operation is over there on that side, you're wanting to bring the same exact operation over here in 9 plus 5. Okay? Box it in because this is our equivalent expression. Now let's just work from left to right. First up, what's 7 times 9?
63.
63. Landon, what do I do next? Okay, what's 7 times 5? 35. So that's it. My answer is 6335.
Plus.
You've got to bring down your plus, okay? So be careful from left to right. Next up, Michael. What do I do first on the right-hand side?
You add
You add. What should I add?
60. No, the 3 from the 5.
9 plus 5. What's 9 plus 5?
Oh, 9 plus 5 is 14.
14, okay? Because parentheses tell me, do me first before I do anything else. Now let's go ahead and go to the next part. Alex, what's 63 plus 35?
98.
98 is correct. And Emma, what is 7 times 14? 98. Guys, does 98 equal 98?
Yes.
All right, so give yourself a mini check mark checking off that 98 does equal 98. Any questions on how to do those kind of problems? All right, second example for number 2, use the distributive property to evaluate the expression. Let's break down these words. What does the word evaluate mean?
Solve.
Solve. Okay, so we're going to come up with a final answer that we have solved this problem. But the first thing we have to do is use the distributive property to find our answer. So let's go ahead and find which number both of these two things have in common. Jakari, what do they both have in common?
4.
They both have in common a 4. So I'm going to put 4 as the outside. Now, I am trying to basically combine what is left inside of those parentheses. So I've already used up my 4. Now let's just basically read from left to right. What is left right there, guys? 8.1. Not just 2.9. There's an operation. You have to bring down whatever operation is there, okay? So now you guys have just figured out how to rewrite that using the distributive property. What should I do first? Am I multiplying with the 4 or my work inside the parentheses? Parentheses always say, do me first. So before we do anything else, we've got to do our work inside the parentheses. So we're doing the parenthesis work first. What is 8.1 plus 2.9? 11. So I just bring down that 11 times 4. Guys, what's 4 times 11? 44 is your answer. And just like if you go back up here, you see we have to evaluate. That means we have to solve and get our answer. And the answer is 44. All right, let's do an example for problem B. Same exact idea, but this one has fractions involved. So once again, we are evaluating the expression. Let's figure out, looking from this one right here and this one right here, what number do they both have in common?
11.
An 11, okay? So I know the 11 will be the number that I'm putting on the outside that I'm going to distribute, okay? So now I've used up my 11s. What is still left that I haven't used up yet?
The fractions.
Read it to me.
5/8 plus 3/8.
5/8 plus 3/8 is what's still left there, okay? So you can see I'm going to highlight it. 5/8 plus 3/8, okay? Guys, thinking about this as a fraction, parentheses, as we know, say, do me first. So, guys, don't use a calculator. You've got to be smarter than that. 5/8 plus 3/8 is what?
1.
No, give it to me as a fraction. 8/8, okay? So we are multiplying 11 times 8 over 8. Now tell me, what does 8 over 8 mean? It means the number 1, okay? So what's my answer? 11, because 11 times 1 is 11. Number 3, use the distributive property to find the missing number or variable. So here we've kind of written out everything that we've been going over. N times 10 plus n times 2 is the same thing as n times 10 plus...
2.
Thank you, all one of you, for knowing that answer. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Let's figure this out, okay? Katie got it, so good job, Katie. But let's think about the number that these two, or the letter that these two had in common was a what? N, okay? So just to kind of break this down. Here I'm using my N. This is an N, and this is an N. And I cross both of those out because I have put it right there, N, okay? Next up, this is a 10, so I put my 10 over here. Where there it goes, right there, okay? This is a plus sign, so here's my plus sign. What is left on the left side over here? A 2. Multiply by 2. That means over here, I really just need to take that 2 and put it right there, which is how you got your answer of 2. Okay, so this was a sloppy way of looking at that, but just kind of reading. Even if you just listen, you can hear n times 10 plus n times 2 is the same thing as n times 10 plus 2. All right, it just kind of makes sense even if you read it or say it out loud. I want you to look at problem B and try to do it on your own. Okay, I just looked around the class and maybe 4 of you got the correct answer. Okay, so I want to break this down again. This says 3 times 2 plus 3 times something is the same thing as 3 times 2 plus a. Raise your hand if you put a 2 in the blank. Okay, so here's the deal. This is what you're saying. This 3 goes with that one. This 2 goes with that one. This 3 goes here, and then you're saying this 2 goes here. If that were the case, you have totally forgotten about one thing. What did you forget about? The A, okay? You just left this little guy right there out completely. So if you said the answer was 2, that is not correct. I want us to go ahead and break this down and figure out why it's not correct, okay? 3 times 2 plus 3 times something. What is the number that both of those two have in common? 3. A 3, okay? So we know that this 3 and this 3 is becoming that 3, okay? Next up, I am left with a 2, which is that 2. I have a plus, which is that plus. What is left on the right side? A. So what do I need to put in the blank on the left side? A. Remember when we talked about distributing, you have to distribute everything evenly, okay? What you have on the left side, you've got to make sure you can get the same answer on the right side. So, as you can see here, 3 times 2 plus 3 times something is the same thing as 3 times 2 plus a. Raise your hand if you were able to figure that out all on your own. All right. All right, the final 2 questions today are review questions. These are things that we learned about last week on 6.6. But this says 12 plus negative 12 equals 0. This is an example of some kind of property of addition. So it's either going to be commutative, associative, inverse, or identity. What's the key word for commutative?
Move.
Moving the order, okay? Did I change the order of my numbers on number 4? No, so we know it's not commutative. Next up, associative. What's the key word for that? Grouping. Did I change the grouping of my numbers here?
No.
Nope. I didn't change the grouping, okay? Next up, inverse means opposites. Are these numbers opposites of each other?
Yes.
Yes, they are. 12 and negative 12 are opposites. A number and its opposite always equals what? 0. Therefore, we know this is an example of which property?
Inverse.
The inverse property, okay? The final one that we were going to talk about, identity. What was the key word for identity? Mirror, okay? If a number adds 0 to it, it equals itself. It looks the same. If a number multiplies by 1, it equals itself or it looks the same. So this right here was the inverse property of addition. How many of you got that correct? All right, hands down. Let's look at the next one. 2 times negative 3 times negative 4 and 2 times negative 4 times negative 3 is an example of the blank property of multiplication. So I want you to think about what the difference is between this one right here and this one right here. Somehow it was this and it changed to this. Which one of our properties said it was okay for you to do that? What do you think, Jakari? Commutative. Why do you say that's commutative? You are correct. We changed the order of the numbers, okay? So that was the commutative property of multiplication. It has to do with multiplication because we were multiplying numbers together. Anyone have a question? All right. This is your homework for tonight. It's just 10 problems like normal. So go ahead and pull out a piece of paper for tonight's homework.